Dear our parents and dear our students, we are here again for recording our last video, recording our last session. So it's the end of it's the last of the series of our 4 workshops, and then today we are going to be talking about the financial aid. The first 2 workshops was, briefly, if I want to explain, the first 2 workshops were about college readiness, that the students what the students should do starting from 8th grade all the way down to the 11th grade. And then our third workshop was last week, the whole application process, especially referring to the students who are finishing the junior year, and then what are they supposed to do during the summer and then throughout their senior year. Now, finally, we are going to be talking about the financial aid opportunities. Now, to be honest with you, these sessions that we try to summarize in 4 sessions. It takes a good 10 to 15 sessions if you want to really talk about it in a classroom setting, which we usually do. We talk about for many hours to make sure that students understand that. However, with the current situations, and then not to take our parents and students' time in such pandemic times, we wanted to summarize it as much as possible. So this is the last session, and then it's financial aid. Financial aid itself takes a good couple hours if you want to go into the details. So we are not going to be able to go into too much details. We will be trying to summarize it as much as possible so that our students and parents will understand the basics. So you will have a general understanding on what's going on, and then you would at least get to understand the terminology. And then if you want, maybe probably next year, we can make another session, with our students and parents as needed to make sure that, we can go into the details in more depth. So what happens is, let's go through the slides. Actually, it's going to be more productive. So first of all, okay, it's not working here. What's a financial aid? There's so many slides, so excuse us, we're gonna go faster than, sometimes allowing you to read the whole things, but you can come back to these recordings in our school's YouTube accounts, which Syracuse Academy of Science and Utica Academy of Science, if you want to go and now listen to the recordings in a slower pace. So what's financial aid? It's basically helping students to pay the cost of attendance. So what kind of financial aids do we have? There's 4 different categories. That's the types of, actually not the category, but the types of this money. So Mr. Kovar, would you like to talk about these 4 financial aid types?
Sure. So as Mr. Ross said, there are 4 different types of financial aids, and some of them you need to pay back. Some of them they are you don't need to pay back. Those are just, if it is correct term, free money for you, for your education. So the first one is the grants. So the grants are technically the free money. So in 2018-19 year, the max federal Pell Grant was $6,095. So this is the maximum money that you can get from this grant. Based on the financial situation at your whole household, they determine how much you're gonna get from this grant. And as I said at the beginning, you don't need to pay grants back to the federal government or the state. So federal supplemental education opportunity grants, these are also different types of grants. Generally, after the Pell grants, you can either automatically apply those, or they might have a different application for these type of grants. You might need to fill out that. State grants, after the Pell grant, once you finalize your FAFSA, which we're going to talk about it in the future, you can apply the state grants. State has a different types of grants. We're going to talk about those also. And, you can get additional money on the top of the Pell grant. And some institutional grants are generally, depends on the college that you're going to, that you're going to enroll. They have, for example, Utica has, I couldn't recall the exact name, but they do have grants. So institutional grants that they give you if you are going to that college. Again, this is also free money. You don't have to pay back the grants. The second one is the scholarships. And the scholarships generally also they are free money, so you don't have to pay them back. There are different types of scholarships based on your abilities: athletic, academic, leadership, theater, music. For example, UFR, they have leadership, they have technology, and two more categories, and based on your abilities and the guidance council recommendation, they gave you these scholarships. They are usually competitive. There are some certain criteria in order to get these scholarships, and again, they are also institutional. So from college to college, they might differ, and the amount may differ. One of the college presidential scholarship could be $4,000 and in 1 year. The other institution may grant you maybe $10,000 for a year. So based on the institution budget and availability, the scholarships may change. There are also some national scholarships that you can look for and apply for, and we will give you some websites and the links down below, and then you can also use those and then find a good scholarships that applies for you, and then you can apply for it and then get that free so-called money. And state has also some scholarships, different scholarships based on the different majors. Local companies, they have scholarships. For example, in Utica, we have what was the company name?
It's okay.
I couldn't remember. It was one of the chemical, producing company. And then if you're going for a chemistry major, they give you, specific scholarship. And some civic community agencies, they also, have available scholarships. And all of these, they have different applications. That's why you need to kind of look for it and search for it and then apply for it differently. And again, as I said at the beginning, the scholarships also they are free money for your education.
I would like to add just one thing quickly. What's the difference of grants and scholarships? Grants is usually given based on the need. So they just check the student's income, the parent's income, or the whole family income. And then based on how much money the family is earning, they give certain number of amounts of money. Scholarship, on the other hand, is given based on the abilities and it has nothing to do with the income. So both of them are free money. The difference is grants are based on the need and the scholarships is based on the merit. Let's call it merit. So how do you remember what's the difference? Scholarship is, if you cut the words into two, you're going to see that scholarship has the word scholar. So that's going to be the best clue to differentiate grants and scholarships. Now, we will go through the others maybe later, work study and the loans. We can just basically, if you want me to go, I'm just going to quickly say that the work study programs are the other money type that the colleges offer that students will be able to work on campus and then make money. And again, loans, we're going to go through the loans in a little bit. There's different types of loans, but the upcoming slides will give more details. Loans is the money that the students will have to pay back. So here in these slides, we kind of talk about the types. The grants and scholarships are the free money in one sense. I mean, you earn it, but let's call it free money. That's the easiest term that's under the financial aid terminology to express the difference. And the loans is the money that you're going to have to pay back. So
I just want
let's
to add
skip them.
something for the
Sure,
scholarship.
please. Please just.
Because there are some fake websites. Generally, sometimes they ask for money to apply for a scholarship. So please do not fall into that, trick. Most of the scholarships, they do not ask for money for applying that scholarship. So there is no such a thing. You have to pay to apply for a scholarship. There is no such a thing. So if you kind of came across something like that, please just avoid that website and then look for something else.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. So how do students qualify for federal aid? Most of the federal aid are grants based on the need, federal government or the state. In most of the cases, I would say 90 to 99%, they do not give money to the students based on the merits. State has a couple exceptions, but federal just gives the money based on students' income. So, but in order to understand how does the federal government gives the money, there's a quick formula here, and it's very simple. There's a cost, there's a money that the needs to pay. The difference is the financial need, right? So the cost of attendance is everything to attend a college. It includes the tuition and fees, it includes the room and board if the student wants to stay on campus, or the transportation if the student is commuting, books and supplies, and any other fees. Minus, this is the cost of attendance, the whole packages. It includes even the transportation, just to make sure that students are really calculating what is going to be the real cost. Minus, the families are expected to come up with some money to support their children's education. And then the FAFSA, the purpose of this FAFSA is to calculate this expected family contribution. FAFSA says, how much money do you make? We're going to talk about it. How much money, how many people go to college? What are the conditions that you have at home? Certain questions like that. So they come up with saying that something possibly like, let's say, your family, based on all the answers you said, let's say your family is expected to pay $5,000, okay? So the difference between the cost of attendance and the family's expected contribution is the financial need. And then the financial needs may be very big. It varies from college to college. You can see like expected family contribution doesn't change. If FAFSA calculated your expected family contribution, EFC, is 5,000, wherever you go, it doesn't change. If you go to CUNY, let's say CUNY or SUNY, let's say SUNY is $26,000, with dorm, minus $5,000 is your financial needs. If you go to SU, which is like, let's say 70 or 73, minus 5 is the financial need. Now, colleges, most of the colleges, actually all of the colleges wants to close this gap. Every college would like to close all the need. But most of the time, colleges are not, they don't have enough money to cover it. So they say, based on our, budget, we can give you this much money of the financial needs. Some colleges are very generous. They are very rich and very generous. And they could basically say, oh, you know what? Like, let's say Harvard, Cornell, Princeton, like the rich colleges, Chicago, and many others. They say, you know what? We're going to be able to cover the whole financial needs. So if you're going to a college with 73 grants, if it's a private school and it's one of the most expensive schools, if they say that they're going to cover the financial need, they're going to give you $68,000. So, you only need to pay $5,000. Sometimes not even that, because they have their own formula. So why don't we go to those colleges? But again, those colleges are very rich, but they are very famous and they are very competitive. That's why it may be hard to get into those colleges. Now, before I give to Mr. Kowar, I would like to say we're going to talk about next 4 different sources. Now, we just talk about the types of financial aid. Now, we're going to talk the sources of the financial aid. There are 4 sources: federal government, state institution, the colleges, and then private scholarships. You may get money from these 4 resources. Mr. Kowar, would you like to start with the federal grant? I mean, you kind of talked about it a little bit last time, but
Yes.
we can go quickly again, and then
Sure.
we can move forward.
Yeah, there are 3 different grants, and as I said, these grants are completely free money, and you don't have to pay back those money. The first one is the Pell Grant. So the first thing, when you fill out the FAFSA, actually you are applying to Pell Grant, and the amount of Pell Grant is $6,000 and $6,095 dollars. Did it change this year a little bit?
Every year
This,
they boost up another $30-$50.
yeah, I think it's
going very slowly.
6,100
Okay.
and above, I guess, right, this year a little bit, but it was like that in the previous years. So you can actually get maximum, this amount of money from the Pell Grant annually. So which means that first semester, second semester, whatever it is, you this is the maximum money that you're gonna get out of the Pell Grant, and your EFC, which is the estimated family contribution, would be $0 and goes up to $5,000, $5,300.
Which means
So,
if you have more EFC than this number, you get nothing, and then it gradually decreases. If a family has very little income, they get the full amount. The more income that you have, the Pell Grant will go down all the way up to all the way down to zero. But you still have to do the FAFSA, even if you feel, oh, I'm not going to get any Pell Grant. You still have to do the FAFSA, but we'll talk about that.
yes. FAFSA is the must. So everybody is just going based off the FAFSA. It's like the common application for grants and financial aid.
I guess supplemental educational opportunity grant was not indicated here. It's an additional grant for certain cases. It doesn't come to everybody. Let me talk about loans a little bit. There's two types of loans: subsidized loans and unsubsidized loans. And then this is the federal loans. There's other loans that you can get. But right now we are talking about the federal resources, right? The money that comes from the federal government, and then the federal government's budget that is allocated for the college education. Now, what's the difference between subsidized and unsubsidized? First, subsidized loan is being subsidized until student graduates, which means the interest is being waived or subsidized. So the student doesn't start paying interest until they graduate from college. Okay, so it's the best grant. I mean, loan.
Best loan.
The best one, because let's say you start getting this loan, and then after the second or third year, you get more money. Maybe students start working and somehow they pay the money back. So there's a chance that you don't even have to pay any interest, because if you pay it off before graduation, there's not going to be any interest comes. So the very first loan you'll get is subsidized loans. This is the first one, and it's limited to $3,500 only. Let's say if the subsidized loans are not enough, the next loan you will be offered will be unsubsidized loans. And how is that not going to be enough? I'll tell you this. Let's say you go to a college, let's say medium college, right? Lemoyne or Utica College, 25 to 30,000, and you got a grant. Pell Grant 3,000, TAP another 3,000, let's say, and then college gave you another 10,000. Let's say you are short $10,000, and then maybe half of it is now your family expected contribution. Now, if you are missing, let's say $10,000, right? They give you this $3,500. If you say, I cannot contribute from my budget, even though FAFSA says that I don't have that much money, then you can ask, give me some unsubsidized loans, which is the next loan. And then they give you some loan, but you cannot go over financial need. However, it's not given based on the need. It's pretty much given to everybody almost, but there's certain cases, and we cannot go into the details. The subsidized loan is given based on need, and then it's given most of the families. I barely see anyone who were not eligible for one or the other. Anyway, so together you can get usually $5,500. If you still need more loans after this, you can go to the private sector and now look for the banks. But before going to any private, remember 5% is the cheapest loan that you can find, because Selime and other loans may double or triple of these numbers, because they check the credit history, they still want to make profit out of it. They are not as generous as only 5%, right? So this is a good rate here. So you really want to start with this one. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped this one. After the subsidized and unsubsidized loan, before going to the banks, the federal government also offers money, which is called plus loan, to the parents. So the parents are, um, most likely, I would like to say co-signer, or with the details, I have to check again.
I think
They give the first
subside,
one to the students. Yeah,
yes,
they give
the
the first two
subside
to the
and
students.
unsubsidized is just under the student name, and
Yes, this
the
one.
plus loan is under the parent's name.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much for clarification. And then federal work study, Mr. Kovar.
Yes, the third one. So we were talking about the three different sources. The first one was the grants. The second one was the loan, which Mr. Oz talked about. And the last one is the work study. So this is also a federal program. So based on the financial need, actually you may get offer when you get your financial aid letter from the college, either on campus or off campus employment. Generally it's on campus because they know what they need and who they need in the on campus. Usually you can just work 12 to 15 hours per week. You cannot exceed that, in this program. So what you're gonna do, for example, if they assign you at the library, so you're gonna work certain hours in the library, and then that money will directly, go to your college account, and it will deduct it from your annual bill. So this is the third type of money that you can get from the financial aid.
All right, now student needs to fill out the FAFSA. FAFSA is not too complicated. It's very straightforward, but there is some common mistakes that we're gonna go through some pages here. Recently, maybe like several years ago, up until several years ago, it was available January 1st. Now, in the last couple of years, they put it to October 1st, but it came up with a new edition. They are saying now you need to submit your year before tax return. So let's say right now, if you're filling out a FAFSA, if you have a senior, let's say, you're not supposed to put the 2019 FAFSA or the tax return. You're going to put the year before tax return because it started in October 1st when there was the 2019 was not available, right? So you put that here. The student needs to get an FSA ID, and this is pretty much the biggest problem that the students are facing, because FSA ID, you get it the first time you are going to the FAFSA, and then you get it from government's education department website. And then that account or that FSA ID goes throughout your life. What do you mean? What do I mean by throughout your life? If you are a student right now, you get your FSA ID. You use the same FSA ID 4 years back to back, or maybe if you needed more than that. And then you use the same FSA ID. 20 years later, if your child goes to the college, now you use the same FSA ID as a parent this time to sign your children's account. So you're going to keep using it.
It's like the social security of the financial aid.
Yes, almost. Yes, exactly. That's a great common
Because
thing.
it is counted as your signature. So that's why this is how the government recognizes you. So you fill out all the application, and at the end, you're actually signing it with your FSA ID.
Exactly. Thank you. And then not creating the FSA ID the first time. There was a lady from the financial aid workshop a couple of years ago. She gave a great advice. She said, take the picture of all those information, username, password, cell phone number, email address, and then keep it in a safe place, like in the cloud, under a special name. Because I have seen so many students and so many parents forget it every year. And even from first week to second week, they lose it. And I have seen so many examples. Like, it's almost impossible to keep it safe for so many people. That's why, please, please, please make sure that you put all the FSA ID credentials written. And if possible, take the pictures of them, because it is sometimes very hard to recover. It's not like recovering your Facebook account. It's just you're going to have to walk so many steps in order to get a new one. Okay, so FSA ID is one of the biggest painful process to recover. Not the first time you're taking it, but if you want to recover it, it's hard. And the student needs an FSA ID and the parent needs an FSA ID, because both parties will be signing the FSA ID. Now, I don't want to spend too much time here because, we have too much to cover, but I'll just tell you this. They're going to ask questions about demographics, eligibility, credentials, so certain questions with that. 2018 income tax info from students and the parents and the assets. And 2018 for this year. Next year, they're going to be asking for 2019. So they're going to ask about citizenship and immigration questions. They're going to ask also questions about the household size, the taxes, and then how many students goes to college. There's also certain criteria that's kind of complicated. Sometimes they ask for single parents. Sometimes they have to ask for both parents, regardless of they are married or living together or not. They may end up asking questions based on the court's decision and stuff like that. So you answer their questions, and then they're gonna guide you based on your initial answers. They're gonna ask either one or two parents. Sometimes they ask no parents. So that's based on student's situation where the student is being adopted or living with grandparents by the court order, and so on and so forth. It may be a little bit, it looks like complicated, and I don't want to go into the details because there's 100 different scenarios that you can discuss in here. When the time comes, if you're not sure what to do, just follow the steps. If it gets complicated, allow their support system, the FAFSA. You could call them or chat with them. It really helps you to get the answer that you want. Right there. The chat is wonderful. The chat service that they provide is wonderful. All right, this was the federal aid, and there's going to be the state aid next. Sikor?
Yep. So we talked about the federal aid part. Now we're going to talk about the state part. So state has different scholarships and grants. The first one, the general one, is the tuition assistance program, which we call it TAP. So generally what happens is once you complete your FAFSA and submit it to the federal, it's asking you, do you want me to take you to tuition assistance program application website? So if you click that, you will continue with the tuition assistance program from
Let me go to that page. As you are talking,
Yes.
I would like to go to that page, and
Sure.
then I'll come back.
Yes, and
Please
it
continue.
is taking you for the, after you complete the FAFSA, it's taking you to asking you to, do you want to continue with the tuition assistant program, which is the New York State General Grant Program at the bottom.
It's here.
As you see. Yeah.
It's here. You click this one, then you complete FAFSA, right? And
Yes.
then it opens you the state website, so you don't have to Google, and then, it transfers a lot of information, so you don't have to do it again.
Yes, because you already provide all information to the federal. So it's just going to take everything from there, and then you will continue with the, state. So this is the grant money again, and it is a need-based, so you don't have to pay it back, but it is a need-based grant, which is giving up to 5,165. I think this is also changing based on the year, but it was the most recent one, 5,165 per year. So you can be full-time and the part-time, and you're gonna be, again, you need to provide the information, the previous year tax information that you had. The second type of program, the grant, the scholarship, everybody knows about it because they did a great advertisement on it, which is the Excelsior. So it provides the full institution coverage for students who are attending SUNY or CUNY colleges, less Pell, TAP, or other aid covering tuition. I didn't really get that sentences. What is that?
So yeah, they're saying Pell Grant goes first.
Oh, okay.
And then whatever left over, TAP covers. Whatever left over, Excelsior Scholarship covers.
Yes. But for the Excelsior Scholarship, your income must be, combined for both of your parents, 125,000 or less. And there are some, in school and post-award obligations, which mean everybody knows that you need to stay in the New York State after you graduate with the Excelsior Scholarship. So there are a little bit strict on this. I just want to say something. So you're applying Pell, you're applying TAP, and if there is any other aid, they all goes into your tuition, and after that, whatever left over is going from the Excelsior Scholarship. So if you have a full TAP and Pell, generally, if you're going for SUNY and CUNY school, generally your tuition is covered. So you might even not need to apply for Excelsior Scholarship. And last week when we discussed about this, I checked their website. They were still not open.
Wow.
I'm not sure if they open it for this year yet. So you might need to wait for them to open the website to apply for it. And it's just generally takes like 1 or 2 months. It stays open, and after that they close the website.
Yes. Excelsior Scholarship, right? Like this is only for seniors. It opens in May, and they couldn't open because of the COVID-19. All the other things like FAFSA, TAP, they are open in May. I'm sorry, October. Excelsior Scholarship doesn't open before May. I'm sorry, May. Yes, May 1st. I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
I am just checking it right now while you talked, and they still did not open it for this year. So you might need to wait for another month or so to apply for the scholarship. But you can go to their website, and then you can put your email address in there, and then whenever they open it, so they can send you the email. So if you are looking for the Excelsior Scholarship to apply, you can do that. So in order to apply for Excelsior Scholarship, if you go to next slide, Mr. Oz, you need to be the New York State resident. You need to be enrolling in SUNY or CUNY. You need to be taking minimum 30 credits. So you cannot be actually slacking during the college years. So you have to have 30 credits. You need to maintain a good academic standing. You have to plan living in New York State after you graduated, and it's generally how many years you have taken this scholarship. It is exactly the same number of years after you graduated. And we talked about adjusted gross income already. And before you apply to Excelsior Scholarship, as I said, you need to finish the FAFSA and TAP applications first. And then they're sending you, if you are eligible, actually they are sending you the agreement. So, and you're claiming them, you're gonna stay, after you graduated from the school. And then this is how they make money. You're working in the New York State, and then they're taking taxes from your income taxes, and this is how they compensate the money.
Yeah, they're trying to invest the new generation. They would like to increase the student graduation rates, and then they would like to make sure the next generation is a better, higher level of education. I kind of like it, and then because they require 30 credits, there is no chance you pass 4 years, because 4 years times 30 credits is 120. That's enough to graduate on time. And if anyone wants to keep the Excelsior Scholarship, they'll graduate on time. So hopefully with this program, state is really aiming to make sure that the students are graduating within 4 years, not even 5 or 6. Forget about dropouts. So they are really pushing or encouraging students in a positive way to make sure that they graduate on time.
Yes, and
So
with a great point GPA,
Yeah, and then there's a Teach grant. This is also nice. It's one of the grants that not too many people talks about. It's run by SUNY schools, but if anyone wants to be a teacher in the future, but it's an income-based program. They give $4,000 per year, and then they are taking the student into a contract to make sure that they serve after they graduate for 4 years, so that the grant is being paid off. In all these cases, like Excelsior Scholarship, Teach grant, if you cannot keep your promise, let's say if you have to move out of state for Excelsior Scholarship, or if you decide, if you want to be a teacher, you get the grant and now you cannot teach afterwards, they turn the money into loan, which is still fine. I mean, think about it. Let's say you got 4 years of Excelsior and now you stay in New York State for 2 years. Now there's an opportunity out of state, you have to move. They turn the last 2 years into a loan. Or same thing with teach grants. You served for a couple of years, not for 4 years, but then all of a sudden you decided to change your career. They turn the remaining money into a loan. So it's great to take it because you are hoping to perform in the future accordingly, but they are not really mandating you, or it's not like a jail time. It's not a mandated time frame that you have to do something. I mean, life changes, different opportunities come. If you have to move on, they still will be okay. And then what they're gonna do is they'll just turn these grants into a loan.
Yep. And the last one is the STEM incentive program. And we know that the STEM is the rising star for a couple of years. And also state take the initiative on it, and then they created the STEM incentive program. So it's again, it's going to tuition. And if you are going for SUNY or CUNY school, so the eligibility is a little bit strict. You need to be the top 10% of your graduating class. And you need to be, studying in the STEM field when you go to college. And then you need to be maintaining 2.5 average during the college years. And after that, you need to sign a contract in New York State. So you're going to work in the STEM field of 5 years, after you graduated from the school. But if you have plans to study in a STEM field, it's definitely worth so to take the chance and then get this incentive. ETA.
The next one is for private schools. This is a private school version of the Excelsior Scholarship. Now, when Excelsior Scholarship came up, everyone was saying, even the private schools were saying, oh, you're really making a lot of support to the SUNY schools. What are you going to do right now, right, with private schools and their students? They said, okay, we are paying around $6,000-7,000 for SUNY. We'll give that much to the same amount to the private schools. It doesn't look so much because private schools can be $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, even more. But they still provide the same amount of money. They just cannot advertise it as they are covering the tuition, like SUNYs, right? Because SUNYs are $7,000 or $8,000. They say, we cover the tuition, that's it. But for private schools, they cannot say it, but it's still available. Now, you don't have to go to SUNY to get this sort of a support. Even if you go to private schools, New York State private schools, you get that $6,000. But there's a trick here. The private schools opt in or out of this program. So let's say Lemoyne is not participating in the Enhanced Tuition Award, but instead of that, they are given a separate scholarship. They started the Alumni Scholarship in the amount of $4,000, and it has no condition because ETA has conditions like Excelsior Scholarship. They say instead of $6,000 with so many conditions, we'll give you $4,000 for free. So any state, any New York State residents sign up to Lemoyne, they'll get that money instead of this one. So it is just available to participating colleges.
I think Utica College is participating in this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Like $6,000, right?
Yes, exactly.
This one is about. Right. Let's skip that. If there's an undocumented student, we'll probably be able to talk to them anyway. It's not talking to everybody. This part, you have already summarized it. After you complete the FAFSA, you can click on that blue button. At the bottom, it's going to take you to the state website. One thing about FAFSA is so many students don't see it, but let me get close to it. As a part of here, they kind of didn't put it up here, but they sometimes put how much money, it's going through. How much money is the Pell Grant will be coming up? It doesn't say it here right now, but so many students will see if they are eligible for any Pell Grant, this confirmation page also shows that. So this page is a nice page. And I usually want my students to print this page, email it to me, so I would know, they have completed their FAFSA. So, like, New York State is very generous in terms of different grants and scholarships and loan programs. They even have the loan. I don't remember their conditions, but that one student loan may even be cheaper than the private sector. They have I don't remember, but at least 20 different programs, maybe more than that the student may be eligible, but they are very specific to certain cases, and then it's not like a very general one like Pell Grant or TAP or Excelsior. So it's hard to go through these details. We really encourage you to go to this website. This is the New York State version of FAFSA. And then you go to their website, you can learn about different programs. And then you would see which of those programs you may be eligible. And most of them are requiring you to, indicate in your tab if you're eligible, if you would like to be a part of that or not. But this is a strong website. Please visit this, hesc.ny.gov. So this may bring you more opportunities than that you could think of. So would you like to continue?
Yes. So institutional aids, as you can generally figure out from the title, it's based on the institution. So for example, generally they send those aids with the your financial aid letter. For example, presidential scholarship, foundation scholarship, and so on and so forth. So they might have, even as he said, alumni scholarship and everything. So these came already with your award and acceptance letter, and generally they are merit-based scholarships, and you need to do FAFSA and send it to them. And if you want to get a clear picture of it, you should do that. But if you want to get a just general, financial aid, package, and then see and compare, and after that you share your FAFSA information with them, and then they might reconsider your, letters, and then they might resend them to you. And if you really decided to go for that college, we really recommend you to connect with the financial aid office and ask for a reconsideration, the award that you got from them. So if there is any other available scholarship that they maybe provide someone else before you, but they are not coming for that school right now, but you are certainly coming to that school, they might direct that available scholarship to you, and then you might get a couple grant, extra grant for your financial aid package. So we discussed this in previous sessions, so I'm not going to go into the details. But definitely, if you know that you're definitely going to go to that college, you should definitely contact the financial aid office and then ask for a reconsideration for your aid.
Yes, thank you. One thing that it's not giving too much detail in the presentation, but the colleges may give need-based money and merit-based money. So they give grants and scholarships. They may give both, either or, depending on the college's own rules. A lot of colleges gives only scholarships, some gives both, and some gives only grants. So in order to, let me go through this. Some colleges gives grants, and these are the colleges that are requiring, that are going to require CSS Profile. I really like CSS Profile. I enjoy it. I love it when I see that, oh, the colleges requires me CSS Profile, sir, and I heard that it's very complicated. It's asking so many questions. That's great. That is a wonderful thing, because CSS Profile, if the colleges are requiring you to do CSS Profile, it means college is rich, super rich, and they're going to give you some grants. And when I say grants, we are talking about, money that goes to the parents who is making less than $100,000. It's not like Pell Grant. Like Pell Grant is only go up to $40,000 income. But CSS Profile starts with $100,000. It goes to $200,000 gradually, and so on and so forth. So basically, long story short, if a college is requiring CSS Profile, they're going to ask you tons of questions about your financials, how much money you make, do you have a house, do you rent, how much do you spend on these, costs, do you have a retirement account, is there a non-custodial parent? If the parents are divorced and then one of them is remarried again, they even ask questions like that, right? They ask so many questions, but at the end, if they find out that you are eligible, they are going to give you a very generous amount of money. Like, let's say Princeton says, if you are making less than 100, I'm not sure right now the numbers, they keep changing it, but if you're making less than $100,000, Princeton is going to be free for you. That sort of, things. But Princeton was not a good example, actually. Princeton has their own CSS profile, but let's say Cornell says they have $120,000. If you make this much less than this much money, you're gonna cover everything. You pay nothing, and then it gradually increases. They say if you're making less than 150, you pay only half of the tuition. If you're making less than $200,000, you're gonna pay only, I don't know, three-fourths of it, or just the tuition but not the room and board, and so on and so forth, right? So CSS Profile is the great thing. I really recommend you, if you see CSS Profile at one point, it's a great opportunity coming for you.
Especially SU also does CSS Profile when you apply.
Yes, yeah, exactly. SU is, yes.
Yeah, if you're thinking about SU, you should definitely don't skip that. It is a requirement for application anyway, but
And then their deadlines are not like FAFSA. FAFSA may be more flexible, but CSS Profile, you have to do CSS Profile usually before the application deadline, or on the same day of the application deadline. Let's say SU is January 1st. They want you to do the CSS Profile also on January 1st.
Exactly, because they want to know what to give out, and if there is opportunity, why not?
Exactly. Yeah. Would you like, sir?
Yeah. So in order for you to get a detailed information about the CSS Profile of the colleges and the scholarships and the available financial aids, definitely the best source is the college's website. So you can definitely go there and check the institutional scholarships and then grants from there. They have, believe me, they have tremendous amount of scholarships available. And then you can look for those and then apply specifically for that. For example, one of my scholars 2 years ago, I guess, she know what to do, where to go, and everything was set up. And then she went into the website and then apply every single available scholarship on the website if it works for her, if the eligibility works, and she get extra $2,000 out of these applications. And then she was going for free. It was only $3,000 or $2,500, something like that. She was short, and she got them from those scholarships. So definitely, I'm always saying this: scholarship applications, scholarship preparation, scholarship search. This is a full-time job, guys, and it's gonna pay you well. You should
correct. Yes, thank you.
You should be at least spending half hour, maybe 1 hour, based on the case, in a day to apply and look for the scholarships.
But it's paying, right?
It is paying. It is paying well.
It's rewarding. Yeah.
Yes. And the next slide is.
Oops.
I think you muted me.
I'm sorry. I was just trying to go to the next slide.
And the next one is about the the private scholarships. FastWeb, collegeboard.org, scholarships.com, Career One Stop, Going Merry, and those are the major big ones and scholarships. Going Merry, especially the common application of the scholarships, you should definitely create an account in there and then look for the available scholarships that fits for you. You can also get
search websites though. Like I just wanted to say that they don't give the money, but they are matching your profile with different scholarship, right?
Exactly. College Board, they do have their own scholarships also. But the others, as you said, they are just, they have available links and everything over there. So you just click from there and then, go apply from the scholarship website. I was talking about the Going Merry. Going Merry is the common application of the scholarships. You should definitely create an account over there and then look for the available ones. Local libraries, your parents' employer might also, your employer might also. For example, one of my scholars was applying for Arby's scholarship. I never heard of it. One of them was applying for McDonald's Foundation scholarship. The other one was applying for Coca-Cola, scholarship. So you should definitely check for your employers. They might have available scholarships in college, and you definitely don't miss that chance.
The next thing we will talk about is, now we kind of finished the scholarships. There are 4 different resources, and then you apply to all of them. You apply to colleges. What comes in the mail after you get acceptances are the award letters. You'll get a letter. You get acceptance first, and then a couple months later, sometimes like 3 weeks later, they send you a letter showing that how much money is going to be cost of attendance and what are the scholarships. Let's say this is Geneseo, an example from Geneseo, SUNY Geneseo. They, at one part, they put how much money is that going to cost you. Now, when they're saying it, how much direct cost and then indirect cost. Direct cost means you're paying it to school, to college. So tuition and fees and housing and meals. And then the other amounts you do not pay it right now. You spend it as you need them, like books and supplies. It says $1,000. You're probably not going to pay that much, especially if you're smart enough to check the eBay, see if anyone is selling the same book or maybe even renting. It's not probably going to take this much, but they still put it $1,000. Thinking about the worst case scenario, they put the maximum on here. The transportation will probably not going to take that much, right? Especially if you're not flying to go to college. I'm sorry. And then additional costs, it always takes more money than you think. You may come up with additional expenses. In the second part of this financial aid package or the award letter, it's going to tell you, like at the bottom, here how we can, zoom into the second part. No, I'm sorry. I got to go back. Yeah. The second part, it says, what are the resources? What are the monies that you're getting from the federal and the state money? So you get Pell Grant from federal government, TAP from state. SEEOG is also from the federal government, and student tuition credit is from the college. So this student is getting $12,815 scholarship and awards and grants all together towards to be used to cover the cost of attendance. Now, you see, this is the difference. $11,000 is the difference, but then they offer loans and work and study programs. It's basically saying $11,000 left over. It sounds like expensive, so how it's giving some advice how the parent will be able to cover this cost, right? They are saying you can get these loans, or you can maybe work and study, but the work and study program is a little bit different because they don't pay it upfront. You cannot just say, oh, you'll use the federal work study program. You cannot just say that because you don't know if the student is going to work yet. But what you can do is students will start working and now you save the money for the next semester. But the very first semester, you don't know if the student is going to study on campus, so you don't know this one yet. However, you could get as much loans as you want, as far as you believe that you're going to be able to pay it back. So the remaining amount will be up to you. Like you can say, okay, we don't want to get this much loan. We'll probably get only $6,000. And then, there may be savings the students have, or parents may want to, provide some extra support. Hopefully, if they have some savings, it's not easy in this era, but you never know. Sometimes parents are more prepared, correct? And the loans, it's going to continue asking, like, would you like to have more loans? And then if that loan is not enough, you have to go out and then get loans from the banks. But here, if you realize that, I'm going to go back to one slide that it says, here, if you realize that for SUNY schools, tuition and fees are like between $7,000 to $8,000, depending on what college you're going. But the housing is much more expensive. So tuition and fees are not the biggest concern anymore. Housing is a worst, first part in the picture. That's why I'm always telling my students, definitely apply to some schools in town. Apply to Lemoyne, apply to SUNY ESF, even apply to OCC as a backup. How is that going to help? Maybe you really want to go to Buffalo, but you're not going to be able to afford it. In this case, I'm going to go to this slide. You see, like Lemoyne may be easier or cheaper than any other colleges. This is the chart, and then this is the final product in the next slide. SUNY ESF, if you go to SUNY ESF and commute, right, because you don't have to pay room and board, you may end up getting some pocket money, right? Because SUNY ESF is a SUNY school, and it's only $8,000. Grants and scholarships may come to $10,000, and you're going to get some pocket money. If you go to Lemoyne, even though it's expensive, but let's say you're commuting, you're not going to pay room and board, and you're getting a little bit loans, then the money, the final bill is only $3,000, possibly, right? I'm just taking some pictures or copying some of the figures from our previous students, and every student is different. I don't want you to think that this is going to be the same bill for you. But SUNY Albany is a SUNY school, but it may cost more than Lemoyne, even though tuition is much more cheaper. But Lemoyne is more generous because it's not SUNY, and now you're commuting. You may end up paying less for Lemoyne, right? SUNY Albany may cost you $4,000 because you're going to end up, going and staying on campus. I'm not saying staying on campus is a bad thing, but what I'm saying is definitely balance it out and then apply to some colleges in your town, so that you never know what's going to be the final picture, right? So in this picture, Lemoyne commuting versus SUNY Albany staying on campus. The student may say, okay, I want to pay extra grants so that I'm going to be able to stay on campus. So that's the final decision. The final decision is your students and the parents. We respect that. We just guide you here. And then basically, our advice is to make sure that you have different type of colleges and different categories, like in-state, out of states, in town, out of town. Make sure that you're applying from so many different variety of different options.
And we also have kind of saying that SUNY schools are always cheaper. Yes, in tuition they are cheaper. If they are in town, yes, they might be cheaper than the private schools. But as you see over here, when you look at the the big picture, if you put meals, meal plans, and housing and everything, sometimes the out of state SUNY schools might be more pricey than in-state private, in town private schools. So we should definitely look at the big picture and then put everything together. And this is actually the great comparison, Mr. Oz. So, and if you have in town state school, that's the best.
Yeah, like ESF, you see,
because they're paying money back. Yeah, you have your pocket money back from them, so you can pay your gas for commute. Yeah, even maybe in a new car.
Yeah, and then if you add Syracuse University here, because you are, let's say, getting CSS profile, they're going to cover everything possibly. You don't pay anything at all. Even though it's 60 grants, you pay nothing to Syracuse University, possibly, right? Mm-hmm. So you should have added Syracuse University here too. You're not getting any loans, and you're possibly paying $0. That like the main idea is to apply to as many colleges as you want, as you can. So because you don't know the final financial aid package yet, you cannot know it before applying.
Yeah, exactly.
Towards that, I guess we have only 2 slides left. We're gonna ask you a couple more minutes of your patience. Every college website, almost every college website has net price calculator. Especially this is good for the colleges, how much money they're gonna offer you based on the different grants and even the scholarships. They kind of give you an idea. You don't have to actually wait for that much. but they never give you exact amount. They are giving a rough amount. So that's just another tip that you could remember even before applying to college. If you want to know, oh, is it going to be a waste of time applying to this college or not? You can go to their net price calculators and see how much that college is going to cost you, most likely. I guess, yeah, this is the last slide. Mr. Kovar, would you like to?
Just overall, summary of what we discussed. You can start applying private scholarships now. You would have, start that maybe last year also. If you are senior year this year, juniors, feel free to apply scholarships, private scholarships, and we already gave you the websites. If you need a detailed information, you can contact us, and then we will give you more detailed information on that. Once you finalize your FAFSA and TAP application, don't forget that FAFSA has only 10 college limit. So you can send 10 colleges, and then you can go back and then change your list and send it another 10 colleges. Or if it is less than 10, you can do less than 10. So, but definitely, if something changed in your mind, you decided not to go to that college, but you're now going to this college, you should go back to the FAFSA list, and then you need to change that. Same thing for the TAP application also. And colleges generally, once you look at your, FAFSA and everything, and they might ask you additional, supportive documents, definitely you should reply back to them as soon as possible, so you can get the best available scholarship, grant, whatever is available for you. And if you have any questions, like maybe you have a specific case, you have detailed you need a detailed information, the best place to get that questions answered is the financial aid offices. Either you can just call them, once you finalize your application, you can directly call them, or if it is in town, you can just drive by and then have a face-to-face conversation and then get your answers right on the spot.
Yep. Thank you very much. I would like to stop the recording here, and then we'll continue with our live parents if they have any questions. So if you are watching this video, thank you very much for joining us, and then feel free to reach us, Mr. Kovar or me, from Utica and Syracuse if you have any questions. So we're always available for you. Thank you and have a nice day.